Good job, Siegrid.
Come, come, whoever you are. No matter your age, your size, the color of your eyes, your hair, your skin, you're welcome here. No matter how you came here, if you came alone or with others, you're welcome here. No matter whom you love or how you speak or what your abilities, you are welcome here. Whether you come with laughter in your heart, or tears in your eyes, you are welcomed here. If you come with an open mind, a loving heart, and willing hands, then you are indeed welcomed here.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of New Orleans, a congregation gathered in love since 1833 to seek wholeness and work for justice in the world. I am Siegrid, and my pronouns are they and them.
I'm Jyaphia. My pronouns are she, her, or they and them. And if you are a visitor, we invite you to raise your hand so that we can greet you. Woo! Yes. Also, we would like to ensure that everyone in attendance can hear the service in its entirety. So if you're unable to hear at any point, hear the speakers at any point, please wave your hand or do this to let us know, and we'll do our best to speak up.
If anyone of any age would like some activities, fidgets, or toys to help you be more present with the service, you can find pew packs for different age ranges on the table near the main entry door. Please help yourselves and return them after the service. After time for all ages this morning, children are welcome to follow our teachers to the kids' room. The kids' room is set up during Sunday services for guided learning and play about our UU values. It is out the door behind us on your left and around the corner on your right. If you want to learn more about our religious exploration programming, you can find a member of our RE team during coffee hour. RE team, raise hands. I got mixed up. As a lay-led congregation, we invite a variety of worship leaders from our congregation and the broader community to give the sermon and contribute to other parts of our service.
Today, Siegrid and I are leading a worship that started out as named a feminist Bible. And it's led us on an adventure through goddesses and priestesses, ancient cultures, miraculous births, miraculous abortions, and to the values of creation, hospitality, and care.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in lighting the chalice of our heritage and reading the words that you will find in your order of service. Do you want me to do the...
We kindle this flame for mothers and foremothers, past, present, and future. We kindle this flame in celebration of community and its generations. We kindle this flame with respect and support for the greater circle of life of which we are a part. So our opening hymn is on page, is in your teal hymnal on page 1053, How Could Anyone? Let's find that. I know this one.
Now is the time when we welcome all of those who are either young or young at heart to join Michael on the carpet squares for a story.
You may be seated.
Yes, you also may be seated.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to you all. This is a book called Goddess, 50 Goddesses, Spirits, Saints, and Other Female Figures Who Have Shaped Belief. Listen to your inner goddess. You look like a goddess in that dress. Beyonce is a total goddess. The word goddess gets used a lot, often to compliment a woman in her beauty, her strength of character, or her individuality. Unlike in the past, when we use the word today, it is not necessarily connected to spirituality or belief. Traditionally, goddesses reflect every possible human characteristic. Some are beautiful, many are strong, and all are unique. But the most important thing is that they are not just of this world. They exist almost as timeless beings. They entrance and empower people across time and space, and their stories tap into the needs, desires, fears, and hopes inside all of us. Some of the figures in this book and story are not actually known as goddesses by the people that honor them. So Mami Wata is a spirit. Mary is a saint. Rangda is a demon. Baba Yaga, is a witch. And Pele is a mountain. It is important to see that the differences between these figures and the people that value them as they reveal the many varied views of individuals, communities, and cultures. It would be impossible to include all the different belief systems around the world, since there are a staggering number of inspirational females bringing hope and help to people all over the globe. Perhaps there is a goddess in all of us, because their stories reflect every aspect of what it means to be alive. These female figures show us that we too have the ability to be inspiring and powerful. Sometimes we can be strong, sometimes we can be peaceful, sometimes we can be loving, sometimes we can be vengeful. The women of the past were no different from us today in these basic ways, and understanding them can help us to understand ourselves better. Which one of these inspiring figures speaks to you and why? Ask yourself that as you travel the world through these remarkable stories. In today's world, we don't have a single definition of femininity, beauty, and the role of women. In these stories, even the notions of male and female are fluid. So the endlessly transforming, shape-shifting figures reflect aspects of ourselves. They're not perfect, but they're fascinating. They're not one-dimensional, but complex. The goddesses, spirits, saints, and other female figures in this book have shaped belief over millennia, and their stories deserve to be told. I'll tell you a little bit about a goddess named Brigid. She is a Celtic goddess of the elements, healing, and poetry. Fire, earth, and water. In the UK and Ireland, Brigid is one of the most popular goddesses. Can you all see her from where you're sitting? Whose tales have been told for thousands of years. Her father was a mysterious god of magic and wisdom, the Dagda, while her mother was a poet who gave her the gift of weaving words. Brigid was the goddess of spring, the dawn, medicine, poetry, and the natural elements, earth, water, and fire. Known as the High One, or the goddess of the well, she's connected with hills and mountains, rivers and waterways, but flame-haired and wearing a cloak of bright sunbeams. Brigid is best known for being worshipped with fire. In some legends, Brigid was married to the High King Bress, and together they had a son named Ruadan. Shortly after arriving in Ireland, the gods began to battle with a tribe of fearsome, hideous monsters, and Brigid's son was killed. She ran onto the battlefield shrieking and weeping, and her loud cries became known as keening, a wailing song of grief that inspired many poets and musicians through the ages. It can often be heard at funerals. Brigid's role as an earth mother was very important. She was honored for her wisdom in many areas, inspiring artists, architects, metalworkers, and craftspeople of all trades. If you had a pure heart and a busy mind, Brigid would be the goddess that helped you. She protected the people, the land, and animals. In fact, she was the guardian goddess of pets and had her own two special animals to look after. Two oxen named Fi and Men, a pig named Torque Triath, king of the boars, and a powerful ram, Serb, ruler of all sheep. Can you all see the animals here? From goddess to saint. Many people believe there is a connection between the goddess and a later Christian saint of the same name, Brigid of Kildare. Saint Brigid is very important as one of the patron saints of Ireland, and records of her life say she had miraculous powers. She could hang her cloak on a sunbeam, and the nuns at her abbey kept an eternal flame burning for her, guarding it day and night. Her sanctuary was ringed with a circle of bushes, and no man was allowed inside, or they would burst into flames. So the goddess and saint share a connection with fire. But the most unusual thing about Saint Brigid was that she had similar powers to a bishop, a very important member of the Christian church. This was rare for women of the time, as Saint Brigid, like the goddess who came before her, continued to be a symbol of female power. While many pagan practices were wiped out when Ireland converted to Christianity, the importance of Brigid lived on. Finally, shaping belief. Each year, on the 1st of February, there was a special feast day for both Saint and Goddess Brigid, known as Imbolc. It marks the beginning of spring. Candles and fires are lit to represent the sun getting hotter, and people visit sacred wells to leave gifts and bless themselves with holy water. Nowadays, to honor the saint, people weave crosses out of grass and buy dolls stuffed with hay, which are carried from house to house to ward off evil. Brigid was a much-loved goddess who gave her name to a saint because she was too important to ever be forgotten. The end.
Thank you. Children are welcome to spend the rest of the service here with us or visit the kids' room. So now is the time of meditation or prayer in our service, and we're going to lead in with a meditation that I actually learned in West Virginia, but it really connects me to like ancient origins. I have no idea where this comes from. And it's called the rain meditation. And so you start by rubbing your hands together. And then you switch to snaps. If you can snap, if you can't snap, just keep rubbing. And then you start snapping faster, and you start stopping. And then slowly we stop stomping and switch all the way back to rubbing our hands. And now we go into silence. modern day, like Egypt, Palestine, Syria. Most groups actually spent tens of thousands of years in that region before dispersal. So if you can imagine this, there's all of these different groups roaming across Africa. Every single group of people who left Africa and made all of the different diverse cultures in the world spend like tens of thousands of years hanging out together on the Sinai Peninsula, and it becomes the most diverse and important cultural bottleneck in human history. It's where we can trace so many of the myths, all the way from like indigenous, the Incans, all the way back to, well, Genesis, to this one rich region of the world. And it's often called the Fertile Crescent. It's good for farming. And people were like, man, we found a place that's good for farming. I hope we never have to leave here. By the time the first city-states, which were called Sumer, start to emerge here, we see strong evidence of gender equality and very powerful goddesses. So, for example, like both men and women were able to be priests and have other important roles in society, and there aren't different like gendered names. There isn't like a priest and a priestess. They're just all called the same thing, which means that it wasn't a big deal to see women in those roles. We also know that the mythology of Sumer reflected this gender equality, gods and goddesses ruling the world together in a council.
And many of the goddesses across the world can be tied back to this rich, fertile crescent mythology, where goddesses were the source of creation. They ruled the hearth and home. Goddesses were tied to creativity, fertility, hospitality, strategy, and intelligence.
So we don't know a lot of history from this period, but we know by the time ancient Babylon conquers Sumer, Babylon is one of the first empires, in 1800 BCE, women are becoming an oppressed and subordinate group. And what we see is the same thing happens actually to the goddesses of Sumer. So the story of the rise of patriarchy in this region of the world, in the Fertile Crescent, can be understood also through the Babylonian myth of its own creation. So in the Babylonian creation story, Tiamat is the goddess of the wild primordial ocean and ancient rains. She gives birth to the first generation of gods with Apsu, the god of fresh water. The gods continue to reproduce, and they make this like noisy group of divine children, and Apsu really hates them. He's like, they're causing all of this fuss, and I'm like an old man. And he makes a plan to kill these younger children. And so one of these young children, one of these young divine gods is like, I'm gonna get you first. And kills Apsu. Tiamat is very upset about this and raises this army of demons. So Tiamat, the mother goddess, raises an army of destruction to wipe out all of the gods. And she is defeated by Marduk, the god of Babylon. So Babylon is like our god, the god that made our city. He's the hero of the story. And he defeats Tiamat with strong winds, and then very nicely and in a very non-violent way takes apart her body. The most child-friendly way I can say that. There's a reason this story isn't in the goddess book. So some historians believe Tiamat was actually a Sumerian goddess, and this is a retelling of the story to describe the rise of Babylon. Or maybe Tiamat was representation of Sumerian society, and Marduk represented Babylon. Later in Genesis, we actually see this story. So the first book of the Bible in the Torah, Genesis, says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was without shape and empty. The darkness was over the surface of the watery deep, but the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the water." So the word that is in Hebrew translated to watery deep there is Tihon, which is a version of Tiamat. It's from the same root word. And the word translated as Spirit of God is actually probably better translated as strong winds. So we see echoes of this Babylonian story of creation and echoes of Tiamat, this even older goddess, who we don't even know where she comes from, in the literal words used in Genesis and the Bible. And I think that's really interesting to trace, because what we see is as the women of the Fertile Crescent were oppressed, the goddesses of Sumer were also subordinated, and eventually they become these echoes within the culture we are familiar with. And this doesn't just happen in Sumer. It happens with the spread of Hinduism. Local goddesses are turned into wives or helpers of major gods. It will happen later in Rome. This pattern will repeat across time and space. As patriarchal empires rise, goddesses from previous, more equal religions are subordinated or turned into witches, hags, or demons, Baba Yagas. But in these stories, we hear the echoes of ancient goddesses and a more equal society. One of these echoes in the Abrahamic religions is Asherah.
So Asherah is one of the oldest goddesses. The people who spoke the mother tongue of all the Semitic languages worshipped Asherah. She was the consort of El in the ancient Levant language, and in the same period that Tiamat was venerated in Sumer. All of the different groups that descend from the Levant worshipped a version of Asherah, including the cult of Yahweh or people of ancient Israel. So the Old Testament, or the Torah, refers to a lot of polytheistic and pagan people by the people of the Levant. But Asherah is treated differently, than Baal and other rival gods to Yeshua. Archaeological evidence of pot fragments and things from between 700 BCE and 900 BCE make out the words of offerings to Yeshua and Asherah. And other evidence points to Yeshua and Asherah being worshipped together in the same temples. It's truly a different story than we've been taught to believe, especially if we go to Vacation Bible School. By the time the Torah is written, Asherah is not referred to as a false god the way other Semitic gods and goddesses are. She's not referred directly to at all. The word Asherah turns into a word for ritual poles or sacred groves of trees. Like Tiamat, the goddess Asherah is subordinated out of existence, but Asherah reflects an important idea in terms of gender in the Levant, in the ancient Levant, which was duality. Gods and goddesses came in pairs of equal power.
Which brings us to the birth of Jesus Christ. So we're gonna do a quick jump over a few hundred years of history. Rome is the empire now. In many ways, it is the first modern empire. It is more patriarchal than essentially all of the empires because they don't produce enough, so they have to keep conquering things and taking. And they're also very, very dependent on slave labor. So you have to keep conquering. And to conquer, you need to win wars, which means you need to send a lot of young men out to die, and you need to replace that population very quickly. And so that's why women have essentially all of their political rights stripped away in ancient Rome. The age of consent for girls is 12. That's when they are married off, compared to 14 for boys. And they are under the legal control of their husband or father. And by stripping women of political power and social power, it becomes like Rome is able to ratchet up its birth rate and replace all of these young men that they're sending off to die in colonial wars. One of those areas that has been conquered by Rome is the Jewish province of Judea. And just like modern colonial states often rule colonies by kind of controlling the elites, that's what's happening in Judea. So you see a lot of these young Jews, including who we now know as Jesus Christ, but also people like the Ascents. There are all of these groups of young Jews who are like, yo, our elites are totally working with Rome to take our land and our stuff and oppress us, and there's soldiers in the street, and we live under like a military dictatorship, and our leaders don't seem to care. Like, what's up with that? And another interesting thing about this period is that in the Torah, which a lot of these young leaders, especially Jesus Christ, they can read the Torah, and they can, which is now we consider the Old Testament, and they're reading about all of these powerful women. But by the time of Jesus Christ, and by the time of Judea, there's almost complete gender segregation in Judea. Women have very little political power. And so one of the things that is least talked about in terms of Jesus is the way that Jesus and his followers are rediscovering feminism and the power of women in their own religion, in order to better face off with the patriarchy of Rome, right? They needed something stronger than Rome, and the only thing stronger than patriarchy is feminism. So one of the ways we see this in the Bible is rediscovering this divine duality, right? In the Levant, in traditional religions in the Levant, women are often paired with men. Stories about feminine power are often tied to stories about masculine power. When Jesus speaks to his followers, he always pairs parables. So his followers are male and female, and when he tells a story where the main character is a man, he pairs it with a story where the main character is a woman. And that's rediscovering this duality, which was part of the culture that the Torah was written in, right? And on top of this, Peter and Mary Magdalene are two most important disciples, and they're also paired. Even though that's really hard to see in the modern Bible, it's clearer if you look at earlier Christian texts. Peter, which is a word given to Peter by Jesus, means stone. He was the foundation of the church. Mary Magdalene means tower. So Mary Magdalene was supposed to be the tower of the church. And that's a purposeful pairing that's hard to see if you're not looking at it from a more historical lens. Another way that this feminist rediscovery of their own religion comes out is the story of Jesus' birth.
So when we think about the Holy Family, and by the Holy Family I'm referring to Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus. We all been told the story. But when I'm going to tell the story in a different way. So when the Holy Family came to Bethlehem, we're often taught consider that there was no room at the inn, as though we should expect a Bethlehem filled with inns with numerous rooms to let. But this does not fit with what we know about Middle Eastern village culture of the time. The truth is, typically, homes had two rooms. They had one smaller that was a guest room for traveling guests who would stay in the room. And at this time, because so many people had come into Bethlehem, every room that was available was already filled up with people. But in the second room was a larger room, and it was a family living room, a cooking room. It was the place also where animals came to live, because animals help keep the family warm during the cold periods. This was a way of life in Middle Eastern families and villages. They slept with many animals. So when we hear the story that there were animals and a manger in the room, that was not because they were out in the barn. Jesus was not born in a barn. He was born in a family living room with other family members and with the women who were there attending them. So the Holy Family, for this reason, came seeking shelter, and as Mary approached delivery, they did not find a guest room, but were welcomed into a home to sleep with the neighbors who made room for them. And as shepherds were drawn toward the Holy Family, they found not the trio housed in a barn, but tucked safely, though snugly, with other members of the family that offered care. Had these shepherds not found this, they would have brought the Holy Family home to their homes, where their women would have seen to Mary in her time of need. Jesus' understanding of his own religion really focuses on this value of hospitality embodied by the women of that culture. We're going to share in the next piece.
Yeah, we're going to share the Thunder Perfect Mind, which is a really good example of how very early Christians are understanding the message of Jesus Christ. This is early Christian writing taken from a library that was found in Egypt. Now, all of this changes after the Third Jewish Rebellion. All of these people in Judea are killed in a genocide, perhaps tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of people are killed. And the cultures that we now tie to Judaism and Christianity mostly come out of diasporic communities. So we don't have many much direct writing or history or direct ties to the Roman province of Judea. And these writings really help us see how they were written. This is the Thunder Perfect Mind. I was sent forth from the power, and I was sent forth from the power, and I have come to those who reflect upon me, and I have been found among those who seek after me.
For I am the first and the last. I am the honored one and the scorned one. I am the poor and the holy one. I am the wife and the virgin. I am the mother and the daughter. I am the members of my mother. I'm the barren one, and many are her sons. I am she whose wedding is great, and I have not taken a husband. I'm the midwife, and she who does not bear. I am the solace of my labor pains. This is just a little bit of the Thunder Perfect Mind. That's all we're going to share today.
So, following the genocide in Judea, skip forward a few hundred years, Christianity becomes the state religion of Rome, and it's very different than what's being practiced by these young rebellious Jews in Judea. Catholicism violently spreads across Europe and the world, but as this happens, other goddesses become part of the Christian pantheon, and we can also find echoes of these figures in modern Christianity. In Europe before Christianity,
It's okay. So in Europe before Christianity, Brigid was understood as a triple goddess. She was the goddess of healing, symbolized by the element of water. She was also the goddess of an alchemical force, of fire. She was the goddess of poetry. She was first venerated in Germany, and her influence spread all across Europe, from Turkey to Spain and northward to Ireland.
Brigid, the goddess, is often known as the fiery arrow and depicted with flames emerging out of her head. With the rise of Christianity in the region, she was turned into or merged into the Catholic Saint Brigid. Many of the stories of the powers of this goddess and the powers of the saint are one and the same. And so were the methods of worship. So in the 12th century, we know that 19 nuns kept a perpetual fire burning in honor of Saint Brigid in a nunnery that was in the location where Brigid the goddess would have been worshipped too. It was ringed by a hedge that no men could enter, very important. It has been suggested that this fire actually originally belonged to a temple of Brigid the goddess, which would be in line with other goddesses of the heart. So think Vestia, think Hestia. All of these goddesses were prayed to with a perpetual flame kept by virgin women in spaces where no men could enter, holy spaces that no men could enter. So you see the goddess of the hearth really across Europe all the way back to the Middle East. Many stories about Saint Brigid also address like this very modern concept, but a concept that was also really important to people throughout time in Ireland, which is women's struggle to control their own bodies.
In one story, a man tells Saint Brigid, that with her beautiful eyes, she is bound to be betrothed to a man. She gouges out her own eye in response, so that she will not be too attractive to men. In another story, a certain woman who had taken the vow of chastity fell through the desire for pleasure, and her womb swelled with child. Brigid, exercising the most potent strength of her ineffable faith, blessed her, causing the child to disappear without coming to birth and without pain. She faithfully returned the woman to health and to penance. So
Claps for Brigid.
let us clap for Brigid. That sometimes there are spontaneous birth. If there can be a virgin birth, virgin abortion.
In the primordial reigns of Tiamat, in Asherah's sacred grove, in Mary's love, in Brigid's fire, we find the creation goddess again and again, impossible to silence, welcoming us home.
And now we will hear into the ear of the sermon. And now we will sing Ancient Mother, which is
1069. Oh, it is 1069. We got it, guys.
Generosity is one of our UU shared values. And as UUs, we agree to cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We understand that generosity is a spiritual discipline that connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. We can practice our act of generosity either by placing our offering in the collection plate or by using the QR code in the order in your order of service. I'm supposed to say that first. Gifts to this community of faith are gracefully received. Let us acknowledge these gifts by reading together the words in your order of service. These gifts from the abundance of my life, bless me, our ministries, and the world.
So my announcement this week is next Friday, we're going to do a quick webinar check-in on how to advocate for temporary protective status from deportation for people in Iran and other high conflict areas right now. We're very concerned. The Trump administration is the only administration in recent history that's ever deported people to Iran. It's honestly a crazy thing to do, and we're worried that it will start again if there is ever peace in Iran. Of course, we want there to be, but we don't want people to get deported to Iran when that happens. Any other announcements? Because I don't think I got any in writing before. Come on. Do you want to hold it like a talking stick? Yeah, it'll help me. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, next Sunday, please join us. We'll be having our intergenerational flower ceremony. And we'll also be appreciating our religious exploration volunteers, so please join us for that. And then after the service, we will be having a congregational meeting at 12 o'clock. There will be a light lunch and childcare provided, and there's a little more information in the insert in your order of service. We'll be voting on some exciting, important stuff, so please join us there. Raise your hand. Do you have an announcement? Okay. Raise your hand now if there's another announcement. Seeing none, I want to take this moment to remind. Oh, come on up. This is not how we normally do announcements.
I definitely don't need a microphone. Next Tuesday, there's another hearing in Washington, in Baton Rouge, on the maps, the legislature maps. I don't think any of us want to return to Jim Crow. We really need to be vocal in this, and if you all can, please go to the hearings and speak up. You can listen to what went on Friday on the internet. It is published. There were some really great speeches that just ordinary people gave.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, Sandra. Okay. Seeing none. Don't get used to this method of announcements. I'm going to use this moment to remind everyone there are more announcements on your order of service or the digest that you probably got in your email on Friday. And there's also a place to give us feedback. And please do, because I'm on the worship team and it helps us so, so much. Give feedback if it's bad, give feedback if it's good, give feedback if you just have a rant, if you think it's too cold in here. Give us feedback. Yep.
And now, please stand and body your spirit. Try to do this. Okay. So you can see in your order of service, we'll use the closing words. We witness flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please remain as you are for our closing hymn. This is a song based on the Magnificent, which is the words of Mary, written and told that she is going to have a baby that will bring peace to the world. It is set down to a traditional Irish tune, The Star of the County Down.
And you'll find the words to that in your order of service.
Thank you.